Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Janice Malillo, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Today is Monday, November the 8th. And you may see that I have a different sister with me. So without further ado, I am with two
Sisters and a substitute.
Welcome, Sandy. We're so excited that thank you so much, obviously, for filling in for Carol Sue. So obviously you are in ground zero, your kitchen, where magical, amazing things happen. And I am at this moment and getting the chills talking about this because we've had many conversations with you in your kitchen, but the premise behind your book, obviously, it's and let's just tell everybody out there, yeah, desire to be well. Yeah, I love that. It is not your average cookbook. Like,
Oh, no.
so I want to turn it over to you. Because I think what's exciting about it, especially with the holidays coming, there's so many amazing recipes that, people can share with their families. What was the desire for you to get this cookbook done? Let's start there.
Yes. Well, I had health issues, as you know, years ago. And, I really had trouble finding answers to my health issues through, conventional medicine, was failing me. And my symptoms were getting progressively worse. So after I sought out the integrative and holistic approach to health and wellness is when I got my answers and was able to get on the road to healing. Long story short, I, go to school to get my certifications and my education in functional medicine to help others that were in my situation find their answers. But along the way, I have, needs, food needs, things that we crave. And, having multiple food sensitivities, it makes it difficult in the beginning because it's all your favorite foods. So out of desperation, I, created cream sauces and cheese sauces and learned how to work with some of the vegan cheeses so that I could have some of my favorite craveable meals. And, in this beautiful Desire to Be Well kitchen is where it all began. And you encouraged me over the years. You'd always say, what's the shipping to New Haven on the recipes?
That is so true, because in your Facebook group, and by the way, we will make sure that the link to Sandy's Facebook group gets posted below the live of this video. You have to join this group. And that is so true, because I would see these amazing things that she's making. And I'm like, delivery charges to North Haven, question mark. And the funny thing about that is you and I obviously have been friends for, I think, about 6 years or so, I want to say.
It's about 6 years, yeah.
Right. But we actually just met in person a couple months ago. In fact, I met Fred, your husband, before I met you.
I know.
Which is kind of funny. But I want to go back to, because I want to kind of pick apart a lot of things that you said that I think are so important for people to really understand. And, there's so many, like you talked about, food sensitivities.
Yeah.
And, obviously through our certifications, and you more so, obviously, with the cooking and the knowledge that you have in that background. I think a big question that comes up for a lot of people is, why all of a sudden are so many people coming down with different types of food sensitivities? For instance, when we were kids, you never really heard much about food sensitivities. So if somebody is experiencing, they notice, for instance, maybe when they're eating pasta, they don't feel well afterward, what are some tips or advices about sensitivities that you could share?
Yes. Yeah, it's incredible, right? The allergies, food sensitivities. People say, well, I, you know, didn't grow up as sensitive to this or that. There's so many chemicals and, so many medications that we take for granted, over the counter, NSAIDs, and PPIs for, indigestion and acid reflux. All of these things create an imbalance in our digestive system. We get an overgrowth of yeast or any kind of pathogens, Lyme's disease. Any of these things can create a condition known as leaky gut. It's enhanced intestinal permeability. And what happens is some of these medications, pathogens, bacteria, fungus, whatever is, out of balance, it's what's called dysbiosis. And it creates, little holes and little spaces between the villi in our small intestine. And we end up leaking, pollen, food sensitivities, environmental perfumes, candles, anything like that, then are passing straight through, food proteins from all of our favorite foods, passing through the small intestinal wall, which is only one cell thick. So if you get this dysbiosis going on, you get little pockets and holes, and you're leaking undigested proteins and pollens and chemicals directly into your system. And that creates a massive histamine reaction. And then over time, your body sees those as invaders. So when you ingest them or breathe them in again, your body is going to react. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days for your body to then metabolize those proteins and pollens and whatnot. So you can't pinpoint where it comes from. And that's where the mystery comes in. Like, well, what is it? What is it that's causing me to be so sensitive? So, at that point, there's different ways that you can, get to the bottom of that too.
Thank you so much for that really descriptive, background on how those things happen. Because I think that it's really important for people to know that, because for instance, when we were going to school, and I think it was toward the end of it, where I was having issues, and then it occurred to me, something clicked, and then I'm like, it's something that I'm eating that's not agreeing with me, because it would usually happen 20-30 minutes after I ate. Long story short, with that, come to find out, I have a non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So obviously I'm more aware of that now, and which was why I had asked the questions like, why all of a sudden? So now, obviously, that makes sense for why somebody like myself would have a gluten sensitivity in my 50s. Oh gosh, that sounds weird to say in my 50s, but let's not tell anybody, okay? So you go through this process, you go to school, you get your certifications, but I've always said, when we've always had our conversations, for instance, if I had a client with an issue, if I, for instance, did not know the answer to that, I would tell them, I'm like, but I know somebody who does, and I would contact you. And I just want to let everybody know, Sandy's wealth of knowledge is not just about being a coach. It goes so much deeper than that. She really can help you. And we've often said this together, Sandy is more wellness, functional type of health coach. I am more of a weight loss health coach. And that's okay, because, we often talk about different things, with our, clients, that maybe, we bounce things off of. But what I would like to say too is, working with you, obviously, we're in a different age of Zoom and Google and, all this different things. And I know that you meet a lot of times with your clients at your home. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a few clients in the area that, I visit with in person, but for the most part, it's virtual. And I have clients all over the country that We meet through messenger video or some other virtual means, sometimes by phone, if they don't want me looking at their hair, or they, we'll just opt for a phone call that day. But this way, you could be anywhere. You could be on vacation and, have your session. You could, be in your car. It makes it so much more accessible to be in this digital virtual age, so that you can receive, that virtual care that we all need.
That is so true. And I want to get back to obviously your book. You're obviously in the desire to be well kitchen. I love how you do that. Absolutely. What when we first started talking about your book and how you said, I want to write a cookbook. And I remember that conversation because I felt that it wasn't just a cookbook. And you felt that, I believe, that it wasn't just a cookbook. It was more about the process of what you go through to create a healthy, craving type of delicious meal. But it goes so much deeper in that, because I know that you and Fred have a love of dancing in the kitchen and cooking together. So tell me how that goes about. For instance, macaroni and cheese. Like, let's talk mac and cheese, because that's one of my favorite things.
I think it's everybody's tops on their list, right? And if you have a gluten sensitivity, 9 times out of 10, you have an issue with dairy as well. There's what's called, so here comes the science again, molecular mimicry. So if you have sensitivities to one, either dairy or gluten, 9 times out of 10, you're sensitive to the other as well. So if somebody says, well, I'm kind of lactose intolerant, or I can't tolerate dairy, or somebody, like yourself, I'm a gluten intolerant person. Gluten and dairy go together in your body. Your body cannot differentiate between those two proteins. And that's what's called molecular mimicry. So if you're sensitive to one, you're sensitive to the other.
So when you've created these amazing recipes, and I think there's over 180 recipes in your first cookbook. And by the way, folks, yes,
95.
95. Awesome. And she's also starting on recipes for her second book. So I just want to put that out there. Yes, there is a second book in the works. But those
I can't help it.
Well, and that's a good thing, because people need to know that they can create a delicious meal, not just for themselves, but for their loved ones, for their families, for people who may be visiting. I mean, how many times have you had guests to your home where you've created this amazing setup of a meal, and it was all gluten-free, dairy-free, and tasted wicked delicious. Now, obviously, when you and Fred came to visit, I remember you had those muffins, and I'm like, yes, finally delivery service to North Haven. It was wonderful. But when you get in that creative process of creating a recipe, such as when you came up with your mac and cheese recipe, or the butternut soup squash recipe, which my sister absolutely loves, tell us the process of that. Like, how does that come to you? What are you inspired when you create a recipe?
Yes, with the macaroni and cheese, of course, you want, to recreate those flavors. You want to recreate that mouthfeel. My friend, who is a Le Cordon Bleu classically trained chef, would critique some of my dishes, and she would say, Sandy, they check all the boxes. The texture, the mouthfeel, the this, and the macaroni and cheese. You want to find a really, your favorite pasta. There's so many different ways that you can make a noodle nowadays. Find one that you really, really like, that'll cradle a lot of sauce. There's quinoa noodles, there's corn noodles. If you have sensitivity to corn, then you can go with the brown rice. You can use vegetable noodles. There's lentils now. There's all different varieties of a gluten-free noodle to have fun with. And then you make your cheeses. Now you can do a cashew cheese where you soak raw cashews, and you can come up with a sauce, in your high-speed blender. And I do that for my cream sauces and my cheddar cheese sauce. But for the mac and cheese, I use different shreds. This makes it easy for everybody. You can just go to the store and get an assortment of vegan shreds. There's a Parmesan, so it's almost like a 4-cheese. So you get the Parmesan flavor. There might be Gouda, there might be some cheddar, all the different ones, a little nutritional yeast, which is an inactive powder that has a cheesy flavor. They call that hippie dust, because it's loaded with B12, for all those vegans that I can't have meat, they're low in B12. But you put all of those cheesy flavors together along with a plant-based milk, and it all melts together and coats those noodles. And I'll tell you what, my husband absolutely goes crazy for it. And I'm always hoping for leftovers, but my son will come down late at night and he eats the rest. And there's never any leftovers for mommy because it's that good. Sometimes I'll throw a little turmeric in there, make it a little more bold with the color, and it adds, a little bit more anti-inflammatory goodness there. So creating recipes is a lot of fun. I always say in the book, all recipes are created with your cravings in mind. Like when you reach a certain point in your life, there are certain things, there's certain standards that, foods and, traditional foods that you don't want to compromise on. And, what are you going to do? Wring your hands and be sad? No, you're going to figure it out. So that's what we, in the Desire to Be Well kitchen do, is that we figure out, like when we're dying for something that, we really miss, whether it's ricotta cheese or some sort of a lasagna dish or a dessert, we try to figure out, using all the different ingredients, all the amazing ingredients that are available nowadays. We are blessed, and they're all easily sourced. That you can pull together and recreate, use healthy swaps. You can use the vegan options, with the cream cheese or the cheese shreds, and just relax and know that these are good plant-based. They're not going to be inflammatory. They're not going to, cause you to have any stress in your body. And emotionally, it makes you feel so much better because you got to have something that was rich and creamy and delightful, and you didn't think you could ever have that again. So it's good for your heart and soul too.
You're absolutely right. And so important, what I just caught, what you said there, is what you thought that you could not have.
Yeah.
Like, how good is that? That somebody that has that gluten intolerance and the dairy intolerance can enjoy mac and cheese the way they remember it. I think that's amazing. Now, creative wise, you're coming up with these recipes never ceases to amaze me, because I think of you in your kitchen and maybe you have some vegetables or whatever it is that you're looking at and you're like, oh, I can make this or this. And I think that's the fun part of what you do to create these recipes. There's like so much heartfelt soul in that. And I think that's just amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing that I want to ask you, you have some amazing tips within your book, and without going too deep as to what those are, it's not, and that's why I say this is not just a cookbook. Could you maybe share one thing that stood out in your mind when you were writing your cookbook, like, yes, I need to put this in because it's that important for people to know? What would that thing be?
Exactly. And that's why, this is recipes and wellness. We have the, integrative nutrition and functional wellness in the front. It's all easy to understand. I don't want people to think it's a bunch of scientific jargon that they're not going to be able to understand. Meeting people where they are and allowing them to understand the healing process and the things that you need to do to help balance and heal your body. There's a wellness wheel guide that helps in different ways to heal different areas in your life. It's all spelled out. There's work and hydration and sleep and social life and how to, balance those areas so that you can be that holistic wellness, person. You can not be out of balance, just like your gut. You don't want your gut to be out of balance. So the wellness guide is the wellness wheel and wellness guide is really good. It talks about probiotics. It talks about gut health. It talks about eating hygiene, right? Our table of contents, all these different categories. It's not just, what you're eating, but how you're eating and how you can break it down and digest it and absorb it. Because people would say, oh, you are what you eat. Well, that's only part of the equation. You have to have the tools in your gut to be able to break down those minerals for absorption, to break down those proteins into amino acids so that your body can absorb them. So it breaks it down so people can understand the whole process of healing and fixing certain areas, finding the root cause of their chronic illness. And then, going into the benefits of nuts and seeds, how amazing those are, the small miracles, and then the medicinal benefits of herbs and spices, and how we use, certain herbs and spices, but they actually, not just for flavor, but also for medicinal purposes as well. They've been used since time began as a type of medicine, and we now just view them as flavor when they actually have medical and therapeutic benefits. So it goes into a little bit of that, so you understand the ingredients that go into your food, that food as love and food as medicine. Redefining what healthy tastes like. This is not kale salad. This is not, you have to eat, rabbit food. This is a way to incorporate both, meeting people where they are, the health coach and the client, meeting where in the middle so that everybody can make those transitions to a healthier diet and lifestyle with a little help. So that's what the book's about.
So the book that, and by the way, that is amazing. And I was trying to write down notes really quick here. Redefine what healthy tastes like. Who wouldn't want to know, right? Which brings me obviously back to your book, which came out, I want to say it was about 2 weeks ago.
Friday, we could go Friday.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought it was about 2 weeks ago, but your book, just kind of give us the stats on that, about how quickly, like, your ranking as far as, especially for a first time author, which is flipping amazing. And I said this to you yesterday that I'm just so very proud of you. Tell us a little bit about that, what it was like for you.
Well, it's a scary thing. You were the one that said to me, Sandy, I'm going to help you write your book. And it was a real process to get going. And it was a real, like a journey for me personally to learn, old dog, new tricks, learning how to do things and get to this part. But then it's like ready to launch, right? This is like having a baby. And, first time mom over here, first time author, it was a scary thing. You don't know what to expect. Are people going to like it? Are they going to like me? So, you put all your heart into it and you just let it go into the universe. And, spreading the love, please share. A lot of people have been following me for years and are so excited about it, been, waiting for this to happen. And so it just cascaded. And all of a sudden it went to number 2. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then to bestseller. And then I get the call, it went to international bestseller. I have friends in Canada and the UK, and apparently they were sharing too, because boom, we went to international bestseller, and I'm like, what? How did this happen? And this was just over the course of not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And it was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was, having every emotion that you could possibly have. One minute I'm screaming and, joy, and the next minute I'm crying. And, it was a very emotional roller coaster. That whole weekend, my husband and I were like this. And just waiting to see and checking and the ranks, and oh my gosh, and we ended up being a new release bestseller in 9 different categories. And I was like, how does that happen? It was just magic. It really, when you put positive energy and positive messages out, you're leading from the heart, right? Janice, you and I both lead from the heart. When you lead from the heart and you put positive messages out into the universe, the world changes. And that's what I'm hoping that I can do with my book, is to help, cast the broader net, and to help people to, begin a healing process for themselves in mind, body, and spirit. So
Yeah, that is wonderful. So bestseller in 9 categories. Wow. International
wow.
bestseller. Wow. To get to that point and to live through that with Fred, and to share those moments with Fred, I'm sure must have been, obviously, he must have been thrilled and excited beyond belief, as well as your 2 sons, Trevor and, oh my God,
Jack.
and Jack. I mean,
Jack up at college, he's sending me messages. You're a badass, Mom,
you're a badass cooker, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Badass wellness coach. My gosh, this has been so amazing to have this chat with you. Now, obviously, the Kindle version is out there, but you have some exciting news about the actual book. So if you could just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Kindle version was rocking it. And that's what got everybody's attention. And now, we now have the international bestseller ribbon on the cover of the paperback, and it is available for order. And on Amazon, just type in "Desire to Be Well," Sandy Kern, pops right up, and order your book today.
But people
will not be sorry. This book will, it's like a hug in a book. It's very kind and loving. It shares a lot of personal things, and a lot of valuable information, along with those delicious recipes. I mean, you can't, people will have tried. I have some test kitchen friends that have tried out the recipes, and they take them to parties or events or share them with family, and everybody is blown away. So it's very exciting to know that the recipe is not only well received in my home and with my friends, but with others as well. And the book is so special. It really comes from the heart. I put a lot of heart and soul in it, and I hope that everybody picks up a copy and enjoys. And who wouldn't want to give the gift, right? This is my little my little holiday slogan.
Absolutely.
Who wouldn't want to give the gift of health and happiness for the holidays, right?
And so true, but also they could purchase it directly through you to get an autographed copy.
Yes, if you want an autographed copy, you can order through my website, desiretobewell.com, and there'll be a pop-up, and buy now.
I love that. Sandy, I want to thank you so much for sharing your passion, not only with being a wellness and nutritional functional health coach, but your excitement over creating this magnificent recipes for wellness is, I'm blown away by it, and I get the chills thinking about it. And again, obviously, I feel like a proud mama.
Yes.
Just so excited for you, and obviously can't wait for the next book. And yes, I will be making, excuse me, a couple of those recipes for Thanksgiving. Hello, Thanksgiving's right around the corner. Everybody, you got to go to her website, especially if you want an autographed copy, because let me tell you, Sandy Kern, she's going far in this world. International bestseller. Who wouldn't want to have an autographed copy? Who wouldn't want to give that gift of wellness for the holidays? Recipes for wellness and happiness. Sandy, I want to thank you so much for being the adopted sister today. It has been our pleasure having you on. And again, if you could just repeat your website for everybody before we
Yes,
go.
absolutely. I'm Sandy Kern, international best-selling author, speaker, and integrative nutrition and functional wellness coach with a new book. This is Desire to Be Well, Recipes and Wellness for Health and Happiness. My website is desiretobewell.com. And my Facebook group, which I'd love everybody to join, is Friends of Desire to Be Well. Ask to join, it's a private group, get you in there, and then you'll get your daily dose of Sandy Kern and her, holistic approach to health and wellness. It's a lot of fun. And I look forward to coming back to see you in another week or so?
Yeah, next Wednesday, Sandy will be on again, and we are so excited about that. We're going to do dive in even deeper about some of these recipes. And on that note, thank you so much, Sandy, again, for being on today, for filling in. So appreciate it. My name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. It is Mindset Monday. What better to be in a great mindset way and then go ahead and order that book, because you have people out there that you need to buy for that are very difficult, that could use an autographed book. So go do that today. And TwoSistas will be on again tomorrow. And thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Jan.
You're welcome. And everyone, I hope you have a great day. And remember, mindfulness ways, be gentle and kind to yourself. TwoSistas signing off. See you tomorrow.
Bye.